Right. Good night, Nathan. Welcome to your one-on-one tutorial. So what we are going to do today is this. So I'm going to give you questions with a time limit and then ask you to work it out right away. You're going to talk me through the solution. So explain your thinking. How did you go about proceeding this question as though you're trying to teach me this topic? And then I would let you know if you got the correct answer, right? So you try to do as many questions like this. So the first question is a relatively easy question. So you're supposed to be fine with it. But the other two might be a little more challenging. So without further ado, let's go. Right, so treat this question as though it's an exam, right, Nathan? So this question is worth 3 marks. You begin now. So you have 3 minutes to do this question, after which you would explain to me. So your timer starts now. Go ahead.
Years.
Right, Nathan. So what I want you to do is explain to me how you got the answer. Right, so talk me through the steps involved in solving this problem, right? So I'll write it down as you speak. Right, so yes, the answer is 35, but I want to see how you got it. So go ahead.
Find square root of 9 and I get 81. And I
Right,
subtract.
right. So let me stop you right there. You mean the square of 9, right?
Yes, the square of 9.
Right. So the square 9 means you multiply the number itself. So I do want you mix up that with square root. Square root mean, so what would have been the square root of 9, Nathan, as you mentioned it?
3.
Very good, right? So the square root means you multiply the number by itself to give you that number. And the square means you multiply the number literally by itself in that case, 9 by 9. So I'm going to write some expressions that you probably should have had when you're doing this. So when you're given this problem, do just the answer, yes, you need the answer. But the steps is important, right? So I would have written this. Jada would be 9 years, right? That would have been step one, right? What would have been your next step? As you said, you'd have find 9 squared, right? So what is equal to 9 squared, Nathan?
81.
Right, but what's information from the problem?
Jada is 9 years old. The sum of the parents' ages is a
Right. So
square.
what statement I would write to be equal to 81?
Sum.
Right, but what? What are adding to give you the 89, the 81?
The father and the mother age.
Right, so the parent's age is 81. Right, so this is just the little steps you would expect to have when you're doing this problem. Right, so Jada is 9, we have that. The sum of the mother and father would be 81. Right, so we transforming the words into statements. Okay, Nathan, what would have been your step after this one?
Since the father is 11 years older than the mother,
Mhm.
you have to subtract 81 from 11 and you'll get 70.
Very good. So what this problem became is an unequal sharing problem, right? So just to recap, in unequal sharing, the first step is to remove the excess. No, you don't have to write this in an exam, right? I just recapping briefly the steps. So removing the excess would have been exactly what you said. You subtract the 11 to give you 70, right? And the second one it would be to divide by the number of persons in this case. So what would have been your final step?
Divide by 2 since it's 2 people.
Right.
And you'll get 35.
Right. So the 35 would represent the mother's age. Now, why would 35 represent the mother's age and not the father's age, Nathan? Why would you put 35 for the mother and not for the father?
35 is because her father in the question it says her father is 11 years older and her mother
Okay. So what would be the father's age if the question had asked for that?
45 and 46.
Right. You just need to add back the 11, right? So in a question like this, Nathan, be careful, right? Because sometimes they could ask for the father's age and you'd have put 35, right? It happens in an exam. So just take a check back to make sure. This is the mother's age. The father's age, you'd need to add the 11, right? Just a little thing to look out for. So good job. You actually did this question in about 1 minute and 40 something seconds. And it was correct. Right now, Nathan, I keep stressing the statements is important, right? So even though you answer correct, you don't want to lose any little marks here and there. That would cost you like a 97, 98, 99, you know, these marks add up. You want to get as much marks as possible. You want to be greedy, right? So good job. So that is what I want to hear. So, so let's proceed to another question. Now, brace yourself for this question, right? So let's go. So this question is a little hard section 3 question. So I want you to take 4 minutes. You should take about 4 minutes to work this one out. So your time starts now. So proceed.
22.
Yes, that would be the correct response to the question, right? But I want you to explain to me now the steps while I write the statements down. Right, so you finish this question with a minute to spare, right? So I really want you to make sure your statements and all that proper. So Nathan, I want you to explain the problem as though you're trying to explain the answer to somebody who don't know how to do this. Right, so pretend for this moment, I don't know what I'm doing, and you have to walk me through solving this problem. So do it like you're trying to teach me the question. So go ahead, Nathan. So you have to tell me what statements to write answer. So go ahead. You can start now.
So what I would do is I multiply 7 by 2, and that will give me the cost of 7 magnets.
Right. So what would have been the first statement you'd have written in this problem?
Cost of 7 magnets.
Right. Would be. Right, because the question said that the magnet costs $2. So the cost of 7 magnets would be $14. Now, asking a question, right? Because I want to understand what you do here. Now, Nathan, why did you multiply the 7 by the 2 first? What was your reasoning behind doing that? You're not incorrect. I just want to know why you did that first.
You get the extra.
Right. So you basically identified that this problem had an unequal sharing component to it. So one of the first steps would have been to remove the excess. So very good job. Proceed. What would have been the step right after this one?
You take away 104 from 14 to get the remainder.
Right. So we'd have removed the excess. Now, the reason why I'm making you emphasize the statements, Nathan, in an exam setting, sometimes you could make mistakes. It happens to the best of us. I remember where I make a mistake and I add 2 and 2 and I get 5 or something, right? After a major exam. And I lose marks carelessly. Right? So these statements now would tell the examiner, okay, your understanding is good. Right? So you just messed up the answer. So it's good to put statements. So remove the excess would be exactly what it just did. So it would be the 104, subtract the 14 to give you 90. Right, so that would have been the marks here. So that's about 2 marks you got so far. So you have 2 more marks to get. What would be the step after this one? And what is the understanding or your explanation for it? Right, so when you tell me the step, tell me why you did that step. Go ahead.
When you subtract 104 from 14, you get 40.
When you subtract
104 from 14, you get 40. But that's a 9.
no, that's 90. It's $90.
So what I did was find root now. 1 set is equal to 4 plus 2. I will equals $4 plus $2.
Good.
$6. And to get the number of sets, I would divide 90 by 6, and I will get 15 sets.
Excellent job. Right, so even though this problem was on equal sharing, you had to understand the concept of a set to fully grasp the problem. So good job. The set would have been 1 spinner and 1 magnet altogether. So 1 set would have given you a value of 6, as you rightly said. So the number of sets would simply be 90 divided by 6 to give you 15. Right, so we have 15 sets. So 15 sets of a magnet and a spinner. Now the question said how many magnets did he buy? So what would have been the final step in this problem?
Since let's see, it have 7 more magnets than spinners, you would have to add 15 to 7, and you'll get 22 spinners. I mean magnets.
You get me frightened for a moment there. So 7 more magnets would be 15 plus 7 to give you 22. Very good. right? So this would have been the statements you could have written to solve this. Now, I'm going to add a bonus question here. Suppose you wanted to know now the cost of these 22. So if the question said, find the cost of the magnets he buy as a part B, how would you have done that? It's an easy question. I just wanted to think.
Multiply 22 by 2.
And that would have given you
44.
Right? So this is just to have your brain thinking. Sometimes the question might ask you for the cost of the magnets he bought or something like that, right? So always pay attention to the word. But very good job. This was a relatively difficult question in the year that it was done in the in the SCA syllabus. A lot of students got this, like they were confused about this. Some parents and all were confused about this. So it's good that you could actually think through the problem and solve it. Right? This is a very difficult section 3 problem. So I have one more to hurt your brain a little bit. So I'm going to give you that now. And you should take about the same time to do this one, right? So I'm going to rack your brain up a little bit again. So this one is another section 3 question. So go ahead. I've given you 4 minutes. The 4 minutes starts now.
So, I'll be honest, I don't know what to do. I see it in the SCA 2021 paper.
You got out of trouble.
Yes.
Right. So you see why I bring this paper? I look for hard problems to give you. That's all right, Nathan. So I want you to tell me, let me read it line by line, and I want you to tell me what you understand by it, right? So forget the first sentence. Let me go to this part here. The number of marbles he has is more than 50, but less than 100. So in your mind, Nathan, what does that mean? So if you have more than 50 marbles, but less than 100, if we were to write that, so let me write Jesse. So write in Jesse, and this will be the first statement, right? So more than 50 marbles. So when we say more than 50 marbles, what could be the smallest number of marbles he could have then if he has more than 50?
51.
Very good. So it will be 51. What would be the number after 51? 52, 53, 54, and so on. Right? But what would be the biggest number he could stop by? He has to stop by. So think about it. More than 50, but less than 100.
99.
So what? Good job. So you go from 51 to 99, Nathan. Right? So that is the first statement. So this is basically translating English into the language of math, basically. So when you get a long worded problem like this, go through it line by line and try to make sense of each sentence. Translate the English into math. Good job, Nathan. So let's proceed. So remember, we have to write the statements like that, right? So when the marbles are placed in groups of 10, there is a remainder of 3. Right? So we have to use numbers between 51 and 99, right? Because remember, the first condition is that he has more than 50 marbles, but less than 100. So the second statement, Nathan, would be when the marbles are placed in groups of 10, there's a remainder of 3. So Nathan, what does that mean to you? If I tell you you divide by 10 and you get a remainder of 3, what is the first number between 51 and 99 will that work for?
So 53.
Right. What would be the other one?
56.
think about what you say, remainder of 3. So 53 divided by 10 would give you 5 remainder 3. What would be the next number? If you divide 56 by 10, you would get 5 remainder 6. So what would be the other value? It would be 63, right? So 53 would be the first one. 63 would be the second one. What would be the third one? So you divide it by 10 to give you a remainder of 3. So 60, very good. And what would we stop by? The last value we stop by is, good job, right? So we have to keep the question in the context that it's given, right? So remember, to do this, we needed to know this. So to do the third part, we have to be aware of the conditions we have. So always work with a pencil and underline, right? So we know in the last part, when they are placed in groups of 6, there is a remainder of 1. So how many marbles does Jesse have? So Nathan, what would be a final step here? So using these numbers, what do you have to do? So if you divide them by 6 and you have a remainder of 1, what in essence are you looking for? Okay, so which numbers you're looking at? You're looking at these here, right? So you're looking for the condition when you divide by 6, you have a remainder of 1. So let's try 53. 53 divided by 6. What would that give you, Nathan? So tell me the whole number and then tell me the remainder.
So 8 with 8 remainder.
Right, and what is the remainder?
8.
Right, 8 remainder 8. So does that meet the condition? Does it have a remainder of 1? No, right? So it cannot be 53. Now do the same thing for me for another number. So let me go in our order so we can follow it. So try the number 63. Tell me what you got.
So I got 6 remainder. Well, 10 and with 6 remainder. But no, with 5 remainder.
Right. Now remember, we have to divide by what number, Nathan? We have to divide by 6, right? So we get 10 remainder 3, right? 6 by 10 would give you 60, and we'd add 3. So let's do the same thing for this one. So we have 73, and we need to divide by 6, right? So 73 divided by 6. So think about multiples of 6. That would have made the question easier, right? So you could have done it like that as well. So 10 by 6 is 62, right? And you would have 10 by 6 is 60, and you need 3 to make it up. So let's try 11 by 6. 11 by 6 is 66, right? But that wouldn't work. Let's try 12 by 6. So 12 by 6 would be what, Nathan?
Remainder with 1.
Right, 12 may remainder 1. Does that meet the criteria in the question?
Yes.
Yes, because we need the answer that has a remainder of 1. Right? So this is how you'd have approached this question. Anytime you see a long worded problem like this, try to go line by line and pull out the information, underline it, and try to make sense out of it. So that is what we'd have done here. So the first statement, the marbles is more than 50, but less than 100. That is the statement here. The second statement, they are placed in groups of 10, and there's a remainder of 3. So you're looking for numbers. When you divide by 10, you get a remainder of 3. So the first one could be 53, because remember the marbles are between here. 53 divided by 10 would be 5 remainder 3. And 63 divided by 10, the same thing. You get 6 remainder 3, and so on. Right? So that would be this line. The last line would have been the hardest. You need to consider when you divide the numbers by 6, you would get a remainder of 1. So you would have gone through each one. So what I'm trying to say is the easier way would have been to multiply the numbers. So look for multiples of 6. So for example, 6 8s are 48. So you know 48 and 6, 48 and 6 would be 54, and things like that, right? So that one wouldn't work. In essence, you'd have gotten a remainder of 8. That wouldn't work. Let's try this one. So we divide them by 6. 63 divided by 6 would have given you 10, a remainder of 3. The remainder of 3 cannot work again. This one we're going ahead again. So 73 divided by 12 would give you 6, or 12 by 6 would give you 72, and the remainder 1. Right? So you understand the problem a lot better now, how to approach it, and so on.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So what I want you to do is you have this question on your person, right?
Yes.
Right. So I want you to write out the solution now. Right. So attempt back the problem using the explanation I give you here. Right. So you could screenshot the solution, but don't look at it. Right. But this is the process and the thinking. So I want you to work it out, and you could email me when you're done, right? On your own time. I just want you to write it down so your brain could get to see the steps involved. Right, Nathan? So what I'm going to do to you, the last session we have before the exam, I'm going to create a question like this for you, right? Because I want you to understand this. It's a long-worded problem. So Nathan, we have come to the end of this one-on-one session, right? So I want you to just redo this question, and you could send it to me via email anytime you have done. Right. So all the best with your studies. Just a few more left. So all the best. Good luck. We have one more class, right?
Okay, bye, sir.
All right. Goodbye.
Sir, hold on. Let me take a screenshot of the question.
No problem. Go ahead. Right, but don't use the screenshot to give your answer, right? I want you to do it without looking. You could check after.
Okay, sir, bye.
All right. Bye.
Hi, Anjali. How are you doing? Anjali, can you hear me?
Yes, miss.
Okay, great. Sorry about the late start. So we will go up until 8 p.m., right? So we started a little bit late. Okay, so Welcome to your BetterGradesFast.com one-on-one tutorial. It's my pleasure to serve you today. So the last one-on-one that we had together was quite a while ago. It was a little bit more than a month ago. But I did ask what topic you'd like to look at, and you told me that you had a little bit of trouble with adverbs. Is that still true? Do the adverbs still give you some trouble?
Miss, my internet kinda giving trouble, so you're breaking up.
Okay, we're gonna look at adverbs today, is that all right? Okay, Anjali, tell me if you're still hearing me. Okay, she disappeared.
Miss, I just now got bumped off.
Are you still having some internet issues? That could probably be why. Are you hearing me okay? Can you hear me clearly?
Miss, your audio coming through.
Anjali, I think you're having internet issues.
Yes, miss.
Okay, Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start, right? And if the audio is still dipping in and out, then we know for sure that your internet is giving some trouble and maybe we should try to reschedule the tutorial, okay? But I'm gonna go ahead and let's see how far we can get. Right, so as I was saying before, the last time we met, we said that you had a little bit of trouble with your adverbs. Is that still correct?
Yes, miss.
Okay, so we'll have a look at the different types of adverbs today and see if we can remedy that. So adverbs are pretty cool because they can modify. Modify means describe. Not just verbs, but also adjectives and other adverbs, right? So the first type of adverb we have that we're going to look at is the adverb of degree. Now this is going to answer the question, how much or to what extent? Right? So for example, I really liked that song, right? So we first identify our verb. In this case, our verb is liked. And then we ask the question, how much did I like that song? I really liked that song. So it gives you that degree. To what extent did I like that song? I really liked it. Are you still hearing me, Anjali?
Yes, miss.
Okay, great. So we have the adverb modifying a verb here. What if we had the sentence, she is very loud? Here we actually have a adjective. We know loud can describe a person, and we saw that the adverb can describe an adjective as well. So we asked that question, how much or to what extent is she loud? She is very loud. So very is our adverb of degree. And we're going to do another one. I want you to tell me what the adverb of degree in this sentence is. He walked quite slowly. What's the adverb of degree?
Quite.
Right. So quite is giving us more information about slowly. So to what extent did he walk slowly? Quite. And what part of speech is slowly?
Adjective.
You sure about that? Can someone or something be described as slowly? Or maybe an action can be described as slowly, right? So slowly is telling us how he walked, which means slowly here is an adverb. If we had the adjective form, the adjective would be slow without the ly. So he walked quite slowly. Slowly is a different type of adverb. That is called the adverb of manner. So it tells you how the action is done. All right, so let's just do a little bit more practice with the adverb of degree, and then we'll talk about the adverb of manner. Oops. So it is pretty interesting to learn about China. What's our adverb of degree here?
Interesting.
Not quite.
Pretty.
Yeah, pretty in this case will be an adverb because it's describing interesting, which is an adjective. And pretty can also be used as an adjective, right? So she has a pretty dress. We know that pretty is usually an adjective. But if it's being used like an adverb, it answers that question, how much or to what extent is it interesting to learn about China? And we say, well, it's pretty interesting. So adverbs of degree include words like almost, really, very, extremely, and totally, to name a few. Is that okay?
Yes, miss.
All right, so let's talk about the adverbs of manner. So these are the most common types of adverbs. Are you done with this page?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Oh no, my camera has fogged up. Okay. So we have the adverbs of manner that express how something happens. Why is my camera doing this? Okay, I'll use the whiteboard instead because I'm not sure why that's happening. Sorry about that. Okay, can you see the whiteboard?
Yes, miss.
Okay, perfect. So the adverbs of manner will express how something happens. So these adverbs are usually the ones that end in ly. So we can say the cat runs quickly, and quickly tells us how the cat runs. So it answers that question, how is the action done? Right? What about this sentence? What's the adverb here?
Please.
Plays?
Yes,
I don't think so. Plays to me sounds like an action, right? Because it comes from the verb to play. So what would plays be?
miss, you could repeat, yours breaking up.
What would this to play? What would it be? It's not an adverb,
Action.
right? And we know that an action word is a verb. So plays will be a verb. So is there any word here that is describing how that action is happening?
Well,
Right. So not all adverbs end in ly, right? Some of them look just like regular words or even like adjectives sometimes. So she plays the piano well. How does she play the piano? We get an answer, and the answer is well. What about the horse runs fast?
fast.
Right, because it's telling us how the horse runs. Right, so we have a lot of different adverbs of manner, and they all give you more information about how the action is being done. So the trickiest part is to figure out your verb in your sentence. And when you figure out the verb, you then ask your question, how is that action being done? If you can answer it, you have an adverb of manner. Is that okay?
Yes, miss.
Right? So we also have adverb of frequency and adverb of time. So let's look at those two. They are similar, but also very different. So I'm going to clear the whiteboard. Is that okay?
Yes, miss.
Okay. So on this side, we'll have the adverbs of frequency. Oh gosh, what is that spelling? Adverbs of frequency. And on the next side, we'll have adverbs of time. So let's start with frequency. Frequency means how often the action is being done. For example, I usually go to the gym on weekends. We have to pinpoint our action. What's the verb in the sentence? I usually go to the gym on weekends.
Weekends?
Is weekends an action?
No.
Right? So we're looking for an action word, right? Remember, that's what a verb is, something you can do.
Go?
Right. So go is our verb, And how often do we go to the gym on weekends? Usually, right? So usually tells us the frequency. Okay, so for this sentence, again, I want you to tell me the verb. What's the action word here?
Always?
Can you always? Is that an action?
No, miss.
Okay, try again.
Up?
Try again.
Wake?
Wakes, right? So don't be fooled if you see a S at the end of your verb. That just means that you have subject-verb agreement. So wakes comes from the verb to wake, right? And that's an action you can do. You can wake up, right? So we have our verb wakes. How often does she wake up at noon?
Always?
Right, so that is our adverb of frequency. So words like usually, always, seldom, never, occasionally, rarely, sometimes. Those are all examples of adverbs of frequency, right? And then we have the adverb of time. So the adverb of time tells us when the action is being done. Is done or is being done or has been done. So the difference between the adverb of frequency and the adverb of time, one tells you how often and one tells you when. So frequency, something will be happening maybe over and over again, but with the adverb of time, it's just in one instance. For example, let me go to black. So we'll go to the mall tomorrow, right? So we can answer the question when. We know that go is our verb. Actually, will go. Will is a helping verb, right? So we will go, that's our verb. And then we answer that question when. We will go to the mall tomorrow. So tomorrow will be our adverb of time, right? So see how it's different from the adverb of frequency. So I'll give you one to try as well. So we have yesterday, we won the competition. So first identify your action word, which is your verb. So what's the verb in the sentence?
One?
Right, excellent. And can we answer that question when did we win the competition?
Yesterday?
Right, so yesterday is our adverb of time. Okay, we'll try one more. So sometimes you can have something called an adverb phrase. So an adverb phrase will modify your verb, but it may be more than one word. So I'll give you an example of that. So they ate popcorn and watched TV all day. So we identified the noun. The verb. What's the verb in the sentence?
Watch.
Okay. So we have actually two verbs. We have ate and we have watched. So when did this happen? When did they eat popcorn and watch TV? Well, we actually can say that they did this all day. So all day becomes our adverb phrase. How do you feel about that?
Misunderstand it much more.
All right, so I want us to look at a few questions because we have a couple of minutes again. And I want you to tell me if the adverb is an adverb of time or an adverb of frequency, okay? So I'll leave the notes up and I'll write my sentence here. So we'll start off a little bit difficult, but don't get scared because I said that it was difficult. So I went to the park 2 days ago. What is the adverb here or the adverb phrase?
Adverb of time.
First, tell me what the adverb is. So is it one word or is it more than one word?
One word.
Okay, what do you think the adverb is then?
Went.
Went sounds more like our verb, right? Remember, went is the past tense of the verb to be. That verb to be is a very strange verb because from to be we get is, am, and are. Sorry, what am I saying? That's not the past tense of to be. That's the past tense of go. Sorry, I was thinking about were. Sorry if I confuse you there, Anjali. So went is the past tense of the verb to go, right? So we know went is our verb. So it's good that we know our verb. That means we can now figure out what question we should ask. How often or when? And when we ask the question, good job, we get an answer when we ask when. When did I go to the park? I went 2 days ago. And what does that make 2 days ago? What type of adverb?
Of time.
Beautiful. Adverb of time, because it doesn't say how often, it just tells us when that action happened. Okay, good job. Try one more, okay?
Yes, miss.
All right, so I want you to do the same thing. Tell me what the verb is first, and then tell me what the adverb is.
Grandparents.
Remember, the verb is the action word, something you can do,
See?
right? Grandparents would be what? A noun, right? Because it names a person. So
Yes,
see
miss.
is our verb, and then what's the adverb?
Hardly.
Good. And what type of adverb is it?
Time.
Is it time or is it frequency?
Frequency, miss. Sorry.
Right, because hardly means I ask the question, how often, right? How often do we see our grandparents? We hardly see our grandparents. So it is frequency. If we ask when, we don't get a particular point in time, right? So notice with our adverbs of time, we have words like tomorrow, we have yesterday, we have all day, we could have today, right? But adverbs of frequency will answer that how often. So it's a little bit easy to get these two mixed up. They're usually confused a lot, but I think with some more practice, you'll be pretty good to go. We ran out of time today, but we still have 2 more adverbs to cover. I'm not sure when our next one-on-one will be, but if you feel like you still need a little bit more help with your adverbs, you could always feel free to book another one-on-one session if you'd like. So Anjali, tell me how you feel about the adverbs now. Is it as confusing as before?
Miss, I understand it much more.
All right, I'm so happy to hear that. Okay, so do you have any questions?
No, miss.
All right, so on that note, we'll end here for today, okay? So Anjali, thank you for choosing BetterGradesFast.com. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. And yeah, all the best until I see you again. Bye.